Last week, my friend Helmut asked me if I'm frustrated. Why should I? I had a beautiful summer with my family, we stayed healthy, and our work was not disturbed by the pandemic so far. He then started to talk about his frustrations and hopelessness. Historical forest fires at the West Coast in California and the president who neglects climate change. Huge deforestation in Brazil and an agricultural industry who eats up new areas for soy and cattle farming. 3 hot summers in a row in Germany and a lot of dying trees. It's an endless list, and every year it gets worse. What an era of apocalypse, stopping the deforestation of forests on Earth, he concluded, seems to be impossible. My name is Johannes Schwegler. I am the founder and director of Fairventures Worldwide, a non-profit based in Stuttgart, Germany. We reforest degraded land in the tropic, conserve ecosystems, and fight climate change. We create sustainable value chains that benefit consumers and farmers. I want to take you on a little journey to the island of Borneo. I went to the heart of Borneo with my family when I was young to teach the people how to utilize their key resource, the tree. I worked for 5 years at the Mandomai Carpentry School. We lived in a wooden longhouse at the 300-meter wide River Kapuas. We learned the language, we made a lot of friends, and we discussed a lot about the future of Borneo. During that time, I had 2 extremely shocking moments. The first was when I discovered that the carpentry school had no access to legal timber. How can it be that a school run by the indigenous people to teach their children to add value to their key resources had no access at all to legally harvested logs? For 5 years of my life, I utilized illegal timber and was literally part of the destruction of the forests. The second moment was when we first saw the big ships coming downstream with thousands of cubic meter legally harvested logs. How could it be that the big concessions owned by international conglomerates have the right to harvest logs and the local people there for centuries have no right to utilize their own resources? I couldn't understand at all what happened. But this was not the end of the curiosity. The big ships going upstream were full of brand new, huge bulldozers. What the hell is that, we thought. One day we took the boat and had a look on what they were doing with these machines. We were shocked. Huge land clearings and planting of oil palms. We did some research, we talked to the owners, and we found out that there is an exploding demand of palm oil, mainly coming from the European Union. The EU had decided to add biofuels to their petrol, and this led to massive forest destruction here in Borneo. 50% of the forests on Borneo have been lost in the last 50 years because of our irresponsible and stupid demand. After observing all that big forces, I honestly thought Borneo was lost. I had the same feeling as my friend Helmut last week. No hope. I was completely depressed. Change and stopping deforestation seemed to be impossible. I left the country for another job and became busy back home with other things. I enjoyed the snow in Switzerland in winter, and nice beaches in southern France in summer. And in autumn, my vineyard in the famous Reims Valley, the German Tuscany, where I come from. What a privileged life I live here. All the problems in Borneo disappeared. I remember the day when I got a call from my friend Pandu from Borneo. Johannes, when do you come back? The situation got completely out of control before. Now the government has changed and new regulations are upcoming. It's the perfect time to do a restart. I knew it was time to act. The adventure began. We started to explore many different approaches on how we could stop deforestation. We talked to a lot of people on Borneo, and we found out that there is one major factor that so many environmental projects forget about: the local people. We have to put the local people in the center of our efforts. So we decided to teach tree planting of native, fast-growing, marketable trees combined with food crops between the rows. The 1 Million Trees program was born, a balanced project on all three pillars of sustainability. Good for the social and economic well-being of rural communities, which is the vertical axis, and good for the rainforest and the environment on the horizontal axis. Let me tell you a story about Ibu Shinta. She is a farmer and lives in the district of Gunung Mas in central Kalimantan. Only one generation ago, there was no public road, and her village could only be reached by boat. The Dayaks lived from hunting, fishing, and vegetable collection. Within one generation, everything has dramatically changed. Most of the forest is gone. Animals for hunting are rare, and the rivers are poisoned with mercury from small gold mines. The Dayaks were forced to get used to a new lifestyle in which you need to earn money, and the money-making options are few. Working in oil palm plantations, in gold mines, or taking part in illegal logging activities are the most accessible options. Exactly at this problem we have started. Ibu Shinta has a solution for her empty land, which was not utilized for creating income in the past years. She grows native nitrogen-fixing pioneer trees in the understory. She grows food and vegetables for her household and to sell on the market. Buffer zones with enrichment plantings are created. No need to cut forests any longer. See the difference before and after. The crowns of the trees are closed and the biodiversity can come back. The trees act as a saving account for Ibu Shinta. She can send her children to university after they have finished high school. After the harvest, sprouts come out on the same root system. Last year, we reached our first goal. 1 million seedlings were distributed to more than 1,000 farmers. We started the program as pioneers in this field, and we were constantly learning and growing along the way. That means we also make mistakes. Some of the seedlings didn't grow well because of manifold problems. At the end of the 1 Million Trees program, we did a detailed monitoring and we found out that only 430,000 trees are on the ground. but many of them grow extraordinarily. If you go there, you will see how the future can look like. Food and forests on the same land, growing in harmony together. The hypothesis is proven that sustainable livelihoods are possible in forest landscapes. The remaining rainforest can be conserved for the next generations. The impossible seems to be possible. The big next question is the following. How can we scale from 1,000 farmers to 100,000 farmers or even more? How can we motivate farmers to plant 100 million trees? Imagine the following 5 conditions and you see there is hope. The main precondition we need to achieve is building real trust along the different value chains. Fully responsible actors with a strict monitoring at the core of their operations. Our solution is a single tree monitoring tool implemented by the farmer on the ground and verified by satellites from above. With the verified monitoring data, we can exclude deforestation and we are sure that the trees are actually there. Imagine that the chocolate you love is planted in the shadow of a sengon tree, which provides the raw material for the packaging. And the peanuts you eat are growing between the trees and covering the soil in order to improve soil fertility and avoid soil erosion. If we buy products from the tropics today, we know that our consumption will probably cause deforestation. What if in future they could do the opposite? The more we consume, the better for the environment and the farmers. Imagine you would have the opportunity to compensate your footprint by helping a farmer in Uganda planting trees on his land with a simple online tool. You support the farmer preparing his land and growing trees according to your footprint. 1.6 billion people depend on forests, so they could get engaged in tree planting and forest conservation. There are 900 million hectares of land available to plant trees. And 1/3 of all the CO2 emissions could be captured by this method. Imagine some of the money invested at Wall Street could flow to farmer groups and they use it to plant trees on a large scale. Rich people or companies could become patrons for a whole village and their surrounding forests. There are new regulations in Indonesia where you can partner with villages to plant trees on degraded areas and conserve forests. Investments with real social and environmental impact is possible. The final imagination provides a giant push for afforestation worldwide. We know that we urgently need to transform the building sector. Grey building materials like steel and concrete are dominant, and therefore the building sector is responsible for more than 40% of the CO2 emissions. Buildings from wood do the opposite. They store carbon. The zero is possible. The Stone Age is over and the Wooden Age is coming. Let's not wait until the UN negotiations are finished. Let's not wait until an election decides who will become our next leader. We can initiate change ourselves and start our own impact stories. It's you and us who can change the world to the better. Therefore, we need to build alliances among people and sectors, businesses, governments, science, and NGOs. Remember my friend Helmut. Today I would respond, 1 million trees seemed to be impossible, but it turned out to be possible. One step after the other, and the impossible is going to become possible. Action is the cure for frustration. And it's always better to start imperfect than to never start at all. Thank you.